What does it cost us to always be trying to control the outcomes for other people? What does it cost us to be an auto advice giver, an auto accommodator, someone who says yes when they want to say no, someone who is overworking, overgiving, overdoing, overthinking about other people? We're not asking them what they think they should do. We're too busy thinking we know what they should do or giving advice. So we miss out on our own vulnerability. When it came to being vulnerable myself, I was never all that interested in being vulnerable in a real way. I felt most safe when I was controlling things. Well, hello there, and welcome to today's episode of The Terri Cole Show, where I'm going to be covering the considerable cost of being a high-functioning codependent. And don't worry, if you don't know what that is, I'm going to tell you all about it in this episode as well. I'm going to be covering the cost to you, the cost to your relationship, and the cost on others. So before we get started, if you happen to be new to my YouTube channel, well, hello there. Welcome. Make sure that you introduce yourself in the comments. Make sure that you hit the bell icon so that you get notified. Make sure you subscribe. But I roll out new stuff every Tuesday and every Thursday. And since I actually create it for you, and it's all free, please subscribe, because that really does help me. Many of you watch this channel religiously and are not subscribed. Like 60-something% are not subscribed. And I know that's typical across the board, but it really helps me. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe. Thank you. That is my pitch for your subscription. All right, moving into, I love all your questions, I love all your comments, and I love to highlight them. So this is a comment from Jenny Jones, 7987, and this is under the video, 6 Ways Mother Wounds Manifest and Impact Your Life. And Jenny says, "Hey Terri, I love your channel, and I'm so glad it popped up in my feed. You put things into perspective that I have trouble doing. I feel like there's someone on my side and explains everything that I cannot. Thanks so much for this information, post, and channel. It really seems to make me feel better." Well, Jenny, thank you so much for taking the time to drop that nice comment. That seems to make me feel better, and I really do appreciate you taking the time. All right, why don't we move it on into today's episode, shall we? I think we shall. So, we're going to be talking about the cost of high-functioning codependency, but also be aware that this is going to be the first of a 2-part series, where today I'm going to be talking about the cost to you, on your relationships, and on other people. And then in the next episode, I'm going to be talking about how you can liberate yourself from these disordered behavioral patterns. Okay, so let's take it from the top. What is high-functioning codependency? Well, it is being overly invested in the feeling states, the outcomes, the relationships, the circumstances of the people in your life to the detriment of your internal peace, right? That you're really preoccupied with what's going on with other people. It could be to the detriment of your financial well-being. You might be giving people money that you can't afford. It could be to the detriment of your spiritual or physical well-being, if you're overfunctioning, overgiving, overdoing, overworking. I put the disclaimer on it because all of us are lovers, right? If you're listening to my show, I'm going to say you're probably an empathic person. You're a good person. That's my guess. And of course, we're invested in how the people in our lives are doing and their happiness, obviously. But when we're codependent, we're more than invested. We're overly invested to a degree that is unhealthy. So where did the high-functioning part come in? Well, as I was a psychotherapist, and I have been for 25 years, every time I would talk to my clients, now keep in mind, my clientele are very high-functioning, very capable women in general. That is the bulk of my clientele. If I would bring up and say, hey, what you're describing in this relationship, your behavior here is codependent, they would say, oh no, it can't be. I'm not dependent on anyone, Terri. I'm doing all the things. I'm making all the dough. Everyone's dependent on me. And it made me realize that my clients couldn't see themselves because they had an old school version of what codependency means. More of the Melody Beatty, Codependent No More, which of course is the seminal text and has been for decades for this. But it didn't fit my clients, and they didn't see themselves in that definition. And the problem with that is that how can we work on a problem if they can't identify themselves in the problem. They don't see it. They're like, that's not for me, that's for someone else. So when I saw this over and over again, I added the high functioning piece to codependency because that also fit my clients. And I realized there were other differences in what I was describing. And this was also, you guys, my own experience as a codependent in my young life. So it was my own brand of codependency that I experienced, and then attracted all these women into my therapy practice who were very similar. So what is the difference is that you make it look easy. That's part of the difference, is that when you're a high-functioning codependent, nobody thinks that you're codependent. The higher functioning you are, the less codependent people assume you are. So therefore, people always assume you're okay. People don't think about, right? My clients would always say, oh yeah, my family's not like, oh, are you okay? They're like, she's always okay. And honestly, that's how I was, regarded in my life as well. Now, part of me is proud still that I am always okay, right? I can figure it out, so to speak. But what I wanted to do, and this started me on a path many, many years ago, in really exploring, taking notes, sort of documenting, doing my own soft scientific research, I guess we'd call it, because it's a very small group of people in my therapy practice, of what do they have in common? What is happening and what is the cost? Because that's really the important thing, is that I wanted them to be able to see themselves in this disordered collection of behaviors, because that's what it is. And there's a lot of overfunctioning, a lot of overgiving, a lot of overdoing. But really, at its core, codependency is about control. At its core, it's a disordered boundaries and an overt or covert bid to control the outcomes of other people. That is what we are wanting to do. So, what does it cost us to always be on? What does it cost us to always be trying to control the outcomes for other people? What does it cost us to be an auto advice giver, an auto accommodator, someone who says yes when they want to say no, someone who is overworking, overgiving, overdoing, overthinking about other people? In my 20s, that was one of my preoccupations. I mean, I knew everything about the people in my life, but they were less likely to know as much about me, unless they were my friends and they were also high-functioning codependents, and then they knew plenty about me. But does it make sense where I remember, and I imagine you guys do too, you know who eats wheat, who doesn't, who's a vegetarian, who broke up with whom, whose heart is broken, who's like the people's lives. I could remember the details. And of course, I found a vocation, becoming a psychotherapist after being a talent agent, that these skills I was perfectly suited to do this. I mean, I at certain points had between 40 and 50 clients a week in my therapy practice, and I never took notes because I remembered everything about every person. It was like a capsule in my mind. I would sit down with that person and that capsule would open up and all their information was right there. And I felt that way about the people in my life as well, remembering their childhoods, their friends' names, all of those things. And yet that overinvestment to a degree, all of it comes at a cost, right? Because it isn't free, and we do have limited energy on this earth. So what is the cost for us or on us? Well, when we're trying to control too much, a lot of times we are missing quality time with other people. If we're too busy sort of moving the chess pieces on the board, if we're too busy auto advice giving, we're not asking expansive questions, right? If we're too busy, we're not asking them what they think they should do. We're too busy thinking we know what they should do or giving advice. So we miss out on our own vulnerability because I was so busy fixing other people, helping other people, that when it came to being vulnerable myself, I was never all that interested in being vulnerable in a real way. I felt most safe when I was controlling things, when it was me making the decisions. And I really, back in my younger years, when I was an active, high-functioning codependent, I really don't think I emotionally trusted very many people to have my back in the way that I had theirs, or I was too afraid to find out So even though I had good friends, and I did, I've had the same friends for many years, outside of that small group, I would not be very vulnerable. I would be very helpful to other people, but not necessarily vulnerable in a real way. And when you need things to go a certain way, because this can also go along with being a high-functioning codependent, you lose out on spontaneity, right? If you have to plan everything within an inch of its life, it's hard to be spontaneous. Another thing is that it's hard to rest. Like, I was always busy. I was always active. I was always talking on my phone. I was always it was very difficult before I actually learned how to meditate from Deepak Chopra and David G. It was very difficult for me to just spend quiet time alone because there was a lot of fear. I think that all of my doing and saving and obsessing about other people was sparing me from feeling stuff I didn't want to feel about my own life or about my own self. I think that you can also have a loss of identity when we are very focused on others. Because think about what codependency is. We're outwardly focused more than we are inwardly focused. So if everyone else was happy, I felt like I was okay. Like, if you're okay, I'm okay. Because again, keep in mind, my mantra was, I'm always fine, no matter what I needed to do to be fine. And of course, now in my life, I know it's okay to not be fine, to ask for help, to be vulnerable, to allow others to add value to my life in a way that I never would have done. I never did do. In my 20s, I just couldn't do it. You also can run into burnout because there's only so much that we can overfunction, overgive, overdo, overfeel. Basically, when you're a high-functioning codependent, that is part of what is happening, and burnout happens. Another thing that happens, and this impacts our relationships, is that if we are constantly overgiving and trying to sort of control what other people are doing, first of all, we really can't control. And whoever I couldn't control when I was trying to help people when they were in a tough way, if they wouldn't take my advice, I would definitely get mad. There's no doubt. There's a part of me that I was annoyed because they were still in distress. And their distress was so distressing to me that I was like, why won't they just do the thing that I know will fix the problem? That would be so much better. And then I can be less stressed. Make sense? So resentment, emotional exhaustion, all of these things happen, and those are not good for our relationships. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the cost on others. When you're an overfunctioner, an overgiver, an overdoer, if your mantra in life is, I got it, I'm good, it's all good, trust me, you can take a perfectly functioning person, perfectly normal person, and turn them into an underfunctioner. And I'm not blaming you. I'm not talking about, strategic incompetence where someone pretends to be incompetent so that you do all the crap they don't feel like doing. I'm not talking about that. But I really am talking about, I saw it in my own life, in my own relationships, that you could literally, if you need everything done a certain way, or if you're so quick to do things, other people stop offering. They just don't want to either. They don't want to do it wrong, because that's a big thing, where I always had specific ways things should be done, so to speak. They also don't want to be rejected all the time. If every time they're offering to do something, you're like, I'm good, I got it. It's hard. So anyway, that's something that is a phenomenon that I've seen personally and in my therapy clients, right? Because people get frustrated. Think about when you're a high-functioning codependent, you're really managing people and your relationships more than having these heart-centered relationships. And it doesn't feel good to be managed. I hate it. Somebody's trying to manage me. I'm so mad. I'm like, don't. It is unnecessary and demeaning. But I'm sure I've managed plenty of people in my life. So people have a loss of sovereignty, a loss of autonomy. And when you really think about, why do we care about this? Well, for lots of reasons. One, if you're a high-functioning codependent and you haven't identified that, maybe until now, well, lucky you, I'm writing a whole book on it. So here you go. But this is like a little preview. You're exhausted. Your relationships are not as good as they could be. You feel less than appreciated, right? Because when we overfunction, so much of the time, even if people are appreciative, they really can't be appreciative enough because we're giving from a disordered place, right? If we're giving to maintain control, if we're giving to stay in someone's good graces, if we're giving sort of as a manipulation tactic or a control tactic. And listen, you guys, a lot of this stuff is unconscious. So this is not me pointing a finger at anyone. Because listen, I would point 3 or pointing right back at me because this has been a struggle so much in my life that once I got into recovery from high functioning codependency, the amount that my life changed for the better blew my mind. And it wasn't until that happened that I was able to be in a relationship with someone like my husband. Now we're going on 25 years, happily. But he was so high functioning that he didn't need me to manage him. And that was a rude awakening. Trust me. I mean, we went through it. But it was also such a relief to finally be with someone who I felt like was as capable or more than I am. It was shocking. And as good of a caretaker. Oh, I'm feeling kind of a little bit choked up. Because it was such a relief. You guys can't imagine. It's like, well, maybe you can. I just felt like I was in the Sahara Desert on my own, like chugging, just getting it done, working like a beast, having, creating these amazing careers, doing all this stuff. But I was so tired. I was bone tired and really did want someone who was capable of also caring for me, mutuality, interdependence. I wanted all of those things, but I didn't really trust anybody enough to create those things until I met Vic. And I had done a lot of work on my high functioning codependency at this point because I'd already had probably 12 years of therapy. And the relief that I experienced when I realized that it was safe to have a relationship and to let someone do something for me, to let him drive from New Jersey to scoop me up in the city, as he would say, and then drive me back to New Jersey with him. In the beginning, I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense. I could just go to Penn Station. It's a 20-minute train ride, And my mother was like, why are you denying this guy the pleasure? He wants to come scoop you up. Just friggin' let him, And I was like, oh yeah, maybe I could not manage the efficiency of him scooping me up. Maybe I could just effing enjoy what that feels like to have someone want to go out of their way for me. Honestly, it really, wow, I'm shockingly choked up. It really changed my life, obviously, and that was 25 years ago, but such a relief. I remember crying and crying and crying when I realized that he was the one and that he was capable and that he was trustworthy and that I was capable of receiving, because that's another thing. When we're HFCs, we're not very good receivers. And I just remember I just was crying my eyes out by myself, but in relief. That's how I felt. I wasn't sad. It was like all of those years of sort of being on my own to a degree. And I was like, wow, if this guy really doesn't turn out to be an idiot, this could be an amazing life. And that was 25 years ago. And it is an amazing life and not perfect. I always say it's just perfect for me. But the point is, had I not gotten into recovery for high functioning codependency, I never could have tolerated being with someone as high functioning as Victor. So that is the truth for this. So you guys, I'm going to leave this episode here. I'm going to give you in the guide, terricole.com/guide, I'll give you a lot of these symptoms so that you can see where you are in this. And then in the next episode, I'm going to talk about archetypes and I'm going to talk about different strategies that you can take, even if this is the very beginning, to start to liberate yourself from these behaviors. So I would love to know what you think about high functioning codependency. Let me know because I'm writing a whole freaking book on it. I hope that this added value to your life. I hope you guys have the most amazing week. And as always, take care of you.